You have my favorite MLB record. Do you know what it is?
Most home runs given up.
Yep.
I love it.
I love that one. I'm doing some research. You have over 500 different baseball cards of you. What is
What?
that? Over 500
Wow. I
different
had
baseball cards.
no idea.
I mean, that's every kid's dream. What is it? What does it feel like to have your own card? And what does it feel like to have a fan come and ask for an autograph?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, when I saw my first card, it was a Topps card.
Yeah.
It had that little brown, looked like wood border. That was my very first card, and I was tickled to death seeing that card. Um, as a kid, I collected cards a little bit, but I used to put them on a clothespin on my bicycle spokes, and they'd make a noise. That's what we did with our baseball cards when I was a kid. I kind of wish I didn't do that now. Um, and then as a player, when I was in Texas, I had a coach that was into collecting stuff, and he got me into collecting stuff. So I got back into collecting cards a little bit. Um, but yeah, it was really cool to be able to. I'm blown away by what you just said. Over 500. I had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
25-year career, Seattle Mariners Hall of Fame, 269 wins, 8 different teams, All-Star appearance, oldest pitcher in history to win a game, and a World Series champion. I mean, that's a mouthful. I mean, looking back now, I mean, what is the most rewarding from that experience?
Um, I could talk for hours on just this one question. It's a
Yeah.
great question. Um, but I really prided myself on, I was basically a starting pitcher my whole career. At times, not as successful as I would have liked to have been. Not as consistent as I would have liked to have been, especially early in my career. Um, I moved to the major leagues rather quickly in the Cubs organization, and really kind of look at my first several years in professional baseball or in Major League Baseball as on the job training, because I didn't get a whole lot of seasoning in the minor. I had basically 2 years of minor league baseball, and I was in the major leagues. So I'm not complaining,
Yeah.
um, but it was a little different for me. And surely I wasn't expecting it, and back then there were not, top 10 prospect lists and all the things that they have in today's game. There was a need, for whatever reason, the Cubs stuck with me. And, I was basically a 500 pitcher, some years slightly below it, some years slightly above it, on a team that probably on paper was a pretty good team, but never really played to its potential. So loved playing in Chicago. It was a great experience. The Cubs organization was great. The fans were great. Obviously, Wrigley Field. I had the good fortune of playing there before there were lights. When I first got called up, there were no lights. We played all day games at home. In '88, we got lights. I believe it was August of '88. We got lights, and then we started playing some night games. So um, you know, and again, my whole career was kind of spattered with things like that, or playing with guys who acquired or achieved unbelievable milestones. So I happened to be a teammate of guys that were, Nolan Ryan. I witnessed his seventh no hitter. I witnessed his 5,000 strikeout. I witnessed his 300th win. How cool was that for for me as a younger player to witness that? That was for me phenomenal.
Do you think that you would have gotten the same opportunities you did back then today with
No,
the
no,
with
no
the
chance.
throw hard
No,
at all costs
no, no,
mentality?
no chance. No chance. Really, back to the your question. I prided myself in making being, as we say in baseball, going to the post every 5 days.
Mhm.
Uh, that was something I really prided myself in. I made over 600 starts. I pitched over 4,000 innings at 82, 83 miles an hour, at topping out. as my velocity. So I had to learn how to pitch. And man, I played with some wonderful teammates, learned a lot from teammates, learned a lot from catchers, learned a lot from pitching coaches, managers. Just had, I had the opportunity to go to Japan and play on an all-star team that played in Japan at the end of the season. So I had a lot of wonderful opportunities, but, the opportunities I had, and, I look back at the success that I had was only because I was around talented players and, good defenses, teams that could score some runs. I got a lot of run support, and, I didn't do it myself or by myself. It took a gallant effort by all of my teammates.
Yeah, the career of like looking through a lens from someone just a fan or someone that's a baseball fanatic, it's just really interesting to see your career take off in so many different aspects. You can look at it in so many different ways. Like you said, sub 500 some seasons and then successes. I think being a ball player myself, that mental health state, it's like I played 5 years of college baseball, and it's like it could be very taxing at times. And you struggle at the play, you're like, I gotta fix something, I gotta fix something. It's what I mean? It's
Yeah.
damn, well, how do I get over that hump? How do you keep your mind sharp for 25 years in the bigs?
Well, early on, I don't, I felt like I was keeping my mind sharp, and the negativity, the lack of success, I think started to wear on me. But I had the great fortune in 1991 to meet a gentleman by the name of Harvey Dorfman, who was a sports psychologist, and I know he's worked with many, many players that played Major League Baseball.
Especially in the postseason time, everyone's eyes are on you. One in the World Series, especially, everyone's tuning in, millions of fans. How do you lock in? I remember catching a bullpen, right? Freshman year of college. Three of our catchers are in the game in the lineup. I run out to the bullpen. I wear a fastball on my wrist. I'm not a catcher, and all these fans are heckling me. I'm a freshman, and they're like, "CJ, grab a bat." Like, shit, I haven't swung a bat in 2 weeks, and everyone's letting me hear it in the stands. And I just imagine how magnified it is to you when you step on the mound and a million people are watching you. How do you block that out?
I think it's all of the rehearsal that you do throughout your life and your career, and the focus. It's focusing on the task at hand rather than getting caught up in all the noise outside. And that's hard. But I think as I, went through these skills with Harvey Dorfman and learned how to handle the mental side of the game, when it came to pitching in the playoffs and things like that, I did not. I stayed away from any type of distraction, and that's was my first step. Don't let the noise come in. Right? I don't read the newspapers. I looked at box scores, but I didn't read newspaper articles. The game of baseball is about failure. And those who can deal with failure, not necessarily accept it, but deal with it and learn from it and move forward. Boy, when I started to understand that a little bit, things started to change for me.
Pivoting on the failure and improving on the failure, improving from the failures and learning from them. I think that just makes a good player to a great player. I think you probably can attest that took you to another step. Even in your later part of your career, you kind of took off and more
Most
so, having more moxie behind you or whatever, confidence behind you to go and spot up your pitches.
Yeah. Well, I got to the point where when I was on the mound, especially I'd say the last 10, 15 years of my career, I didn't care about my velocity. What I cared about was my location, the consistency of my mechanics, and my variances of speeds, with my fastball and changeup. Because basically my changeup was my bread and butter pitch,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to uh, work off of my fastball. So locating my fastball to both sides of the plate, off the plate, learning how to do that on a consistent, with consistency. I've always took my profession seriously, loved it, and I never really looked at it as work, even though it was a job. I never really looked at it as work. I mean, this was something as a little boy, and a lot of us have had this dream. And for me, this dream came true. So it was up to me to make it whatever it was going to be. And it started with my mindset.
Pitch selection and how you felt that at bat, what you were seeing, what you were picking up the ball or not. I think that is so important for young players to start doing and start doing it earlier, not so much on their back half of their career.
Yeah, but you're right in saying that.
Mm-hmm.
But who's teaching them what to be looking for and what to be writing down? I mean, I love the idea of what you just said, but what information am I gathering? What information is important to me as a hitter or as a position player or as a pitcher?
Yeah.
Right? You have to be able to dissect that to figure out what is going to work for you. And the other thing I think you have to be careful of, what's the phrase they use? Analysis by paralysis by analysis, right? So all of a sudden you get too much information and you can get caught up in all that information, and then you forget how to swing the bat.
Been
You
there.
forget how to throw a pitch. You forget how to just be a free flowing, wonderful athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a fine line with that. And I think we have to be very careful with. And there's some players that are unbelievably cerebral. They're smart, they're intelligent, and there's other guys that don't want that information. The more information they have, the worse they feel.
I've been on both ends of it and
Yep,
trying to find a happy medium, what works for you.
exactly.
Yep.
Yep. It all goes, and again, it all comes back to experience.
Yeah. How does it feel to have a fan come and ask for an autograph?
Oh, you know what? There's a time and a place for autographs,
Yeah.
and I love signing on. You know what I learned as I matured, especially at the ballpark. You try to make an autograph signing an experience, especially for children. Stop, say hello, make eye contact, ask them if they play baseball, or if it's a girl, ask her if she plays softball, ask them if they play other sports, ask them if they have siblings. You don't want to get too personal, but you want to make an experience for them, because going to the ballpark is a memory, right? You're creating memories. If I asked you, tell me about your most favorite experience at the ballpark as a fan, you're probably going to say, well, I can remember when my grandpa or my uncle or my dad, or I went with my little league team, whatever it was. That's the experience that you're creating, right? And to me, if it's the appropriate time, I'd like to create that experience with kids, in signing autographs. And I made it a rule for myself, other than the day that I pitched, when I played in Philadelphia. um, I built my day around being completely done with everything and being dressed and ready to go for the game a half hour before the game started. I went out in the dugout, and I started at the front end of the dugout, and I went all the way as far down the right field line as I could get, and signed as many autographs as I could for a half hour before every game, that, like I said, when I wasn't pitching. And I'll tell you what, I wish I would have done that earlier in my career. I think I did it a little bit in Seattle as well. But I really enjoyed that interaction with fans, even the adults. But sometimes they can be a little more pushy than kids. But I really enjoyed that interaction with people, and just getting to see people smiling or listening to somebody's quick story. every now and then somebody that I knew would come down and say hello and things like that. So, I mean, it ended up being a great experience. And like I said, I missed out because I didn't do that earlier in my career.
I think we have 5 minutes left on the Zoom call.
Okay.
That is, it's so refreshing to hear that. Being someone that collects and played ball and had in summer baseball, the kids don't care if you go over 5 or they'll ask
Right.
for your autograph. Like, oh, hey,
Right.
Mr. Knight, your autograph. It's
Right.
experience. It's just
Yeah.
it's refreshing to hear someone that would take the time to do that, because a lot of times you see, and you've been around guys, I'll get you after the game type. And
Right.
I get it. There's a time and place, like you said.
Well, yeah, we are at work. So,
Or at
and
work,
that's the thing I
correct.
think sometimes people don't realize, hey, come here, give me this, give me that. Well, that's maybe not the best way to go about it. Hey, if you have a couple of minutes, you have a minute to come over, could you please sign my son's ball or sign my ball? Or, again, there's a time and a place for it. And you're right. And well, the other part of it is there's always one more, one more, one more, one more. If I've heard that, if I had a nickel for every time I heard one more, yeah, it would be interesting how much I would have been able to save. Okay.
What is your favorite piece of memorabilia you have from your career?
Wow. Well, I have the pitching rubber from the 2008 World Series.
Wow.
I have the pitching rubber from 116 win season. And I have the pitching rubber from my last major league win in Colorado. So those are three. I have a game ball from Nolan Ryan's 5,000 strikeout. I have a game ball from Nolan Ryan's 300th win. Actually, 299, 300, and 301.
It's really incredible getting to talk to you. I know you don't do this very often, and I really want to take the time to thank you very much. And you've been an inspiration, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, CJ, thank you for having me on, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
luck with your podcasts.
Thank you.